Blessed be. Today is June 28th, and it is Log Cabin Day, an appreciation, kind of historical awareness day to commemorate on the innovation of log cabin home dwellings. They date back, to like medieval times, back when we had an abundant amount of large straight trees. So it was a plentiful resource to use for homes. And they were built to last. But nowadays, I'm not sure how much people still implement any updated versions of log cabin designs, because you would think that, by now you would have updated the process and it's still an applicable method, but I personally wouldn't choose to live in a log cabin style home, but I do like to visit one, say on vacation in the mountains, staying in a log cabin with a hot tub on the balcony. That's pretty nice. So with today, it's Sunday, and it is time to do weekly planning. Although technically I would say this should have been done and started yesterday. That's kind of how I have my sheets set up, which I set up it's like a daily tracking system for myself. I like the visual component of seeing what I've got for the day. And, this is kind of all it looks like. This starts with Saturday. It's got, the date on it. And then I will write on there the things that I have scheduled. So I had an appointment at 10:30, and then we had dinner with the family later that evening. The other thing I would do on here is maybe write down a list of accomplishments as I get things done throughout the day. Yesterday, not being particularly productive, we've had family in town, so there weren't a lot of tasks on the list anyway. I have my sheets for, again, the rest of the week. Here's one for Monday. And what I get to do next is to fill them in with all the pre-scheduled time blocks where I have meetings at work or a phone call, maybe a doctor's appointment, a vet appointment, just anything with a scheduled time. And I can go through and let's say I know on Monday I've got a engineering meeting. So I can write on here on my Monday sheet, 9 a.m., just a little note that it's the fire engineering meeting. And then when that meeting's done, what I can do with this for my tracking at work, the next thing I say, like by 10 a.m., I'm working on project XYZ number 443. And then I spend 2 hours working on it until lunch. So lunch is half an hour. And then this is how the sheet progresses. And this helps me track my time. So then at the end of the week, I know I've spent 2 hours on XYZ 443. And if I fill it out on Tuesday's form to spend 2 hours on it, Well, that's 4 hours. And this helps me keep a really, strong grasp of where I spend my time. The nice part about this is also, so if I spent the morning working on XYZ, so after lunch, I'm going to work on LMN 227, and I get started on that. Then I get an email that I now have to divert my attention to, which this email is about ABC 465. So I can do a quick note on here, and then I deal with the issue, and I go back to LMN 227. And then I am now able to track where my time is getting split and making sure that I capture that little extra time that I spent deviating to make sure I addressed ABC in a timely manner. This also helps me make sure I remember what I was working on before to make sure I properly go back to LMN. Where was I? It was okay, it's now all here. And this can be useful because if you get enough ABCs that interrupt your time where you're supposed to be working on L, M, and N, this is where you get to provide the evidence of distraction that prevented you from completing your task by a deadline. Because then, what is the priority? Making that deadline or addressing the things, because you are also told not to leave these correspondences unanswered. So it is providing the evidence of what you're doing. And then at the end of the week, you now have all this time accounted for to properly fill out your timesheet. And then at the end of the week, there's a weekly review. There's another page for that. We'll cover that in a different video. So for right now, what I've got to do is to take my sheets for the week. I've got to go over both calendars, both my work calendar and my personal calendar. Fill in the time frames of any meetings or expectations. And then what I like here is at the bottom on each day, there's a space to handwrite in the action items. This is where I get to start the general list of the tasks I want to get done. Maybe it's a call to schedule an appointment, or it's a side project at work where it's like I need to make sure I spend time filling out X, Y, and Z. Little things like that. And so if I write something down here, say on Monday, if I want to call the vet, actually I wrote that in the wrong space. Call vet, that's the action item. And what's the outcome? What do I want? Jimmy's med refill. And then I even have a question, why? Why do I want this? Because why can be a good motivator to help you get things done. So he can feel his best. And so now I have that written as an action item for Monday. And when I go to do it, because now I've got to figure out the time frame, when do I want to do that? And I might make sure I position it, probably, over lunch. So I can, when I'm done, give it just, a check mark. I could cross it out. I do big on check marks, big for completion. At the end of the day, sometimes I have action items that I don't get to. So I have to make sure I give them an X and decide, did I miss the opportunity to take the action, or can I move it to the next day? And then I can write on Tuesday's sheet at the bottom to try again and see what task needs to be completed. And that is one of the ways I try to stay on top of things and stay organized. Okay, I've got my weekly time tracker filled out. It's actually for the next 2 weeks. Everything from starting on Monday, I've got gym in the morning. I still mark that and check it off. So at the end of the week, again, it's that weekly review where one of the opportunities is to acknowledge all the stuff you got done. So that's part of it, even though it's kind of feels more like a repeat habit, but it's definitely worth noting. I've got the design meeting blocked in, and my action item that I want to accomplish tomorrow is for Toastmasters. I need to reach out to one of the fellow members to get access to our Google Drive. They previously sent me the information. I didn't write it down in a place where I can find it. So I get to re-request and get back into the Toastmasters Google Docs to just keep working on the things that I have there for the officer role that I have, which is VP of PR currently. But we just had elections, and this next upcoming 6 months, I will be secretary. Another learning experience because I have not done this role yet. And which actually, you know what? That's another action item that I need to add onto here is to spend time. Right on here, Toastmasters learner study the secretary role. What does that entail? What are my resources? Just all that stuff. It's a new opportunity for me to learn a different skill set, and it is trial by fire, but I'm ready for it. And so now I've got that written down, and it keeps it on the forefront of where to spend my time. Again, this goes for Tuesday, where I've got the gym. I've got a meeting at 7, and it goes from there. But come tomorrow morning, when I get clocked in for work, like that first half hour, actually, that will probably be administrative time, where I just start setting things up, figuring out who I need to respond to. Then we've got the engineering meeting, and after that is when I will probably really get to kick it into gear with task productivity and write down what my first task is going to be, which I'll look at my list of stuff tomorrow. So I hope you find that useful. If you are interested in this form, leave a message in the comments. I will find a way to give you this Excel file. And don't forget, you can like this video and subscribe for more content. And I look forward to the next time. Merry meet, merry part. and marry me again.